The deep red were the territories that the Russians controlled at the end of the last war in 2014. So anyone who says if you just give the Russians a little bit of land, they'll stop, no. This is the 7th time they've done this since 1999. So, and then the pink areas are the territories that the Russians occupied as of the 1st of September. Now, you guys remember back to the beginning of the war in the very first week, when we saw that giant 40-mile-long convoy of military vehicles coming from Belarus south to Kiev. And then on the 4th day of the war, that convoy stopped because they forgot fuel trucks. And on the 7th day of the war, the soldiers got out of the equipment and walked back to Belarus because they also forgot food. Everyone I talked to at the Defense Department and every NATO defense ministry had the same general position. Like, holy crap, the Russians do not know how to fight a war anymore. They have forgotten. They are doing worse than the Iraqis did in 1992 in Desert Storm. If NATO forces and Russian forces meet on the field of battle, they will be obliterated. It will be 1,000 to 1 casualty ratio.
All right, I'm going to pause here. I have 2 questions and two comments.
Sure.
First, I think when you're speaking and when you're especially speaking to an audience, sometimes you have to speak in shorthand, and so you make generalizations that are not entirely accurate, but that may have been what he was doing when he said, well, they had to leave because they ran out of food and they ran out of water. My understanding was the principal failure of that column was not a lack of food and water, although that contributed, but it was a lack of maintenance on any of the vehicles. And the reason they were continually slowing down, they didn't run out of these things. It's that the vehicles could not be maintained, all the rubber gaskets and everything, because they hadn't been actually using these vehicles and maintaining them, a dry rot on everything. The wheels were coming off. Everything was coming off because of a lack of maintenance. And then eventually it stopped. And then, eventually they had to leave because it's like they couldn't keep that column supplied, but it was stopped not from a lack of food and water. And in this case, while I understand making generalizations and that kind of generalization, okay, I get it, but that's off enough from the reality. You could have just said because of maintenance issues, and that's mildly concerning. The other one is the 1,000 to 1 ratio number, but please.
The thing that bothered me about that is exactly what you said, is it's trying to say that they're stupid. They forgot to bring gas and food. No, that's not what happened. What happened is that the corruption that's endemic, that's system-wide throughout Russia, is what brought the army to a screeching halt, because nothing worked. That's what stopped the war. Right? That and Ukrainian soldiers fighting really hard and understanding that the primary target wasn't shooting in the tank, it was shooting that fuel truck, it was shooting that ammunition carrier, because when they're gone, the tanks and the artillery can't really function anymore.
This is one of those points where I'm like, this was a bit oversimplified. I mean, the situation was far more complex than just, they forgot to bring fuel and food. It was just that one of the examples of it just seemed a bit oversimplified. Same thing with the different mountain passes.
It's nuanced, but I'd call it, now I just forgot what I was going to grossly, not misstated, but
oversimplified.
It's to the point where he genuinely should have known better, because he is representing Russians as having failed in a way that they didn't. And I like what you said. He's basically saying they're really stupid and idiotic. Yeah, they should have had maintenance. They should have, but these are all systemic problems that we've talked about and we knew were coming. He should not be saying this, in my view. There is some truth to it, but not enough to justify the context he's putting it in and what he's saying. They ran out of food and water there because they were stuck there because the vehicles didn't work for completely different reasons than what he's talking about, and it's a significant misattribution in my view.
Why this threatened to verge into an existential battle for Russia's existence. And when that's finished, stop again, because I want to talk about that.
And he is correct. Everybody was shocked. And he's saying this right now. Everybody at the DOD, everybody in NATO was shocked at how bad they were and how poorly they were fighting. That's absolutely true. He's right. Yes. He says in a conventional war, the ratio of casualties would be 1,000 to 1. I find that That's another one where you throw out a number like that, I become very suspicious because I'm like, I cannot see how that could possibly be true. But they'd be high in our favor, very high. But 1,000 to 1 is so high that it seems absurd to the point.
Yeah, it's ridiculously overstated. I think absolute best, you knock 1 0 off of that. And I would still argue you probably need to divide by 2 or 3 to even bring it into the realm of possible.
Well, and then that concerns me because you could easily say he's using hyperbole, which he uses, and quite amusingly. Like he's like, and the reason why Russians drink so much. It's like nobody thinks that that's really the reason why. So, he could be using it for hyperbolic effect, but this gets into sort of my biggest objection, which is you're never entirely sure with him where he's using sort of hyperbole and opinion versus facts, of which he's also got a command of a good number of things that I think are indisputable.